Welcome to the next episode of the Deal Finders podcast. This is Andrew, and you're not going to want to miss this one. Y'all, we have Chris Logan who's going to talk to us about virtual wholesaling, and we're going to go through step by step. If you just listen to this podcast, take some notes, you can go out and do deals today. You can go out. He's going to go through step one of finding your location all the way to closing the deal and getting paid through what is called an assignment fee. So if you're thinking about getting started, if you're trying to add something new to your tool belt for real estate investing, this is the podcast for you. We'll see you on the other side. Bye. All right, Deal Finders, we are here with Chris Logan. And guys, this is going to be an incredible podcast. I'm excited for it just because of what we've been talking about how he's gone from no deals to over 600 deals, and virtual wholesaling is his game. So we're going to do a deep dive into that, and this might even turn into a masterclass. So stay tuned on that. So Chris, I like to open up, let people kind of know who you are. But first, y'all, if you haven't subscribed or liked to this, make sure you do that on wherever you're listening to the podcast. But also, we're on YouTube, so you can jump over there, like and subscribe to the Deal Finders on YouTube. All right, Chris, let's start. Tell people who you are, where you're from, like 30 seconds, because, we want to make it quick and get in the meat.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. No, thanks, Andrew, for having me on the podcast. Appreciate it, man. We're looking forward to diving in and provide as much value as possible today. So my name's Chris Logan. My wife and I run a virtual wholesale company based out of Tampa Bay, Florida, and we wholesale houses from home right now in 2 different states, Florida and North Carolina. We've started to branch out to some of those other states, but we've been doing this for a little over 10 years. We've done over 600 deals and scaled our business to over 7 figures. So we love virtual wholesaling. We believe it's the future and the only way that wholesalers are going to want to do deals moving forward.
I love that. All right, cool. Thanks for being concise. So let's jump back, because this podcast, we do talk to a lot of beginners, a lot of people that are trying to figure out where to start or, what's that next step. So tell me about how you got into this. What was that first deal? If you can remember it, 10 years ago, what did that look like?
Yeah, sure. So I got into this by reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, seeing a banner ad in my email one day that he was coming to Tampa. So my wife and I went to this 3-day event. We signed up for a wholesaling course. They charted out all different types of ways on the board that you could make money in real estate. When they showed that you could basically take a piece of paper and flip it for tens of thousands of dollars, like we were bought in 100%, So that was the reason we chose wholesaling. We went and took a wholesaling course. And then from there, we hit the ground running. Our first deal, I did everything wrong that you could possibly think of. So basically, I showed a house, dressed in a suit with a tie, because in my mind, cash buyers, I was thinking like Wall Street buyers were going to come see my property, right? And not the case. Buyers show up in tank tops and flip-flops here in Florida. And so it was really funny about that. But I did everything wrong. I told the buyer that in order to buy the deal from me, he had to pay me an assignment fee on top of the purchase price he was getting. I didn't combine them all. And he was like, wait a second. So I can get the house for, $350, but I got to pay you $30,000? $3,800? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, no, it makes sense. Just trust me, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's perfect sense, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I did everything wrong. I think if there's a list of wholesaler mistakes, I probably did every single one of them. But we found that deal through a referral. I actually used to work for Verizon a long time ago. And I had a customer come in. She briefly mentioned that she was selling her mom's house that passed away, and they were looking to sell it. And it wasn't even in the right area to wholesale. I mean, this is in a super luxury area. And looking back on it now, I cry knowing how much I could have made on it. But, you don't know what you don't know. And we took massive imperfect action. I think that's key for wholesalers getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I'll tell you, Chris, we're local. We have a local group here. We have local events. We teach and coach locally as well as other folks around. But virtual wholesaling is exciting, right? You can do it from anywhere. And we had somebody talking the other day at one of our events. And it's like, well, I want a virtual wholesale. I want to get started. I said, well, have you done a deal yet? I'm like, no. I want to go virtual wholesaling. And what I told them, I said, we do this podcast a pretty good bit. So I talk to people all over the country. We're in masterminds. We talk to a lot of investors. And I think, I haven't found one yet that I can remember where their first deal was not in their own backyard.
Yeah.
Right? And even if you start by virtual wholesaling, you can virtual wholesale like you're doing, but it could still be in your backyard because that's where you're comfortable, you can get referrals, you get all those things. And so we usually say, look, go and do a deal in your backyard. See what's around you first, and then you'll know whether or not you have a good farm where you live or if you need to branch out and do that. So I know you didn't know what virtual wholesaling was back then, but it worked, right? You got that first deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So we started locally and then switched over to virtual. We switched over to virtual 2 years before COVID. Going back, like if I could, wind the clock back, if I could have someone show me how to get started in virtual wholesaling, I probably would start like that from the beginning. Wow. Because, not everybody is blessed to be in a great real estate market like we were when we first started. We were in Tampa Bay, and that market was on fire when we first started. So it's always been a great market. But some people, I just had this person ask me the other day, they're like, hey, I have a population of, 5,000 people in my hometown. Can I wholesale there? I'm like, well, probably not. Yeah. Or you could, but it would take you like maybe a year to do one deal.
Yeah.
So the whole point of virtual wholesaling is it's not always the case where the best deals are in your backyard. The best deals usually in a lot of different cases can be in other places, right? Because, if you're in, like I said, you're a small area, let's say you're in two extremes, right? You're in a small area where you have, less than 200,000 people or less than 250,000 people in your area. The house values there, an average is, under 200,000. You're probably going to be in a very like rural type of an area where it's going to be easier to get properties under contract, but you may have a really hard time selling them, right? And so if you focus on areas that have a population size of 250,000 or more and a median home price of 200,000 or more, and median home price is, all that is, it's very simple. It's the average home that sells in that area, the most popular type of home that sells in that area. So if you have a timeline of houses on the far left, you have the really cheap houses that are like $50,000, and you have the really expensive, like luxury, multi-million-dollar properties on that end. The median price is the one right in the middle, and that's the one that sells the most often. So you want that to be at least 200,000. So going back to your question there, if you could work in an area, wholesale in an area where, let's just give an example, you could make like $4,000 on a wholesale fee, or you could put the same amount of effort and you could make $20,000 on a wholesale fee. I mean, it makes sense to go that other way. But most people, to your point though, don't have that education to start. They go on YouTube, they watch some videos, and so they do start locally. Nothing wrong with that. But virtual, if you really want to grow and you really want to potentially do deals easier than where you're located, then that definitely is the best way to go.
Yeah. So I love this because you've already started this masterclass. You've already started exactly
taking it
at the beginning. So tell us, you put it in there, but I want you to go back and say it, or I'll repeat what I heard. Guys, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, my market is too saturated, I'm in a low population area, or what we talked about, there's some legal issues maybe in your town, municipality, or whatever, or you're just like, you know what, I'd like to do this from my couch. And you can still do it in your backyard, but if you got the skills to do it from your couch, right? That's what we're talking about here. What you want to find is a population center of 250,000 or more, right? And a median home sales price of 200, is that what you said?
200,000.
200,000 or above.
Or,
okay. So there we go. That's our farm. That's where we're looking, right? Do you have?
And it's easy to find that info. You can just go on Google and type in, population in that area. It'll pull up. You can type median home price and then the area you want to go into, and you'll see a Zillow link, and you click it, and it'll tell you what the median home price is.
There you go. So, guys, that's how you find that out, is just use Google and type those in. Is there anything that you would avoid?
Yeah, so like areas I would avoid? Areas that I would avoid are rural areas. So areas that, are outside of major metros. And the reason why that you want to avoid those types of areas is because it's going to be really easy to get properties under contract, but you're going to have a really hard time selling them. So what we do is we want to go for the areas where we know there's a lot of growth, right? And those two indicators that I gave you, the 250,000 population, minimum 200,000, median home price. That is an indicator of growth in those areas because there's a lot of people going to those areas. You have the demand, you have enough sellers, you have enough buyers, not only to do one deal, but to do multiple deals. And when you sell it, when you put a deal out there, you get under contract, it's going to go like hotcakes if you have it at the right price because, again, there's a lot of demand and movement in that area. So those two things we found because we do deals in a lot of different places. And we were like, what is the common theme between all these areas? Because we want to know a pattern so we can select other areas.
Yep.
And so we figured that out in every single area that we've done deals. This was the pattern. All the areas we went into that we struggled to sell our deals, not like get deals under contract, but sell our deals, it was the more rural areas where it was below those numbers. So
if I had two towns or cities, very similar population, very similar median sales price, would growth rate be the deciding factor?
Yeah, you could look at that for sure. There's places online you can find out like the percentage of new movers going into a certain area, real estate trends in those areas, and that's all good to look at. But to truly just simplify it down, if you just look at those two things, that's all you really need to get up and running.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, man, we got step one out of the gate.
Hey.
All right.
And then you mentioned before, too, about the certain states may not be good to wholesale. And you want me to dive into that now?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Let's jump on that. Yep.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, so there are certain states that you can wholesale in them, but they require a real estate license. As of right now, this recording, there is Oklahoma and Illinois. Those are the only two states right now, and I think you said South Carolina is heading in that direction. But those are the only two states right now that in order to wholesale, you have to have a real estate license. Okay, so
statewide for those.
Statewide for those, yep. Over time, I see eventually that happening across the United States, but it's not going to happen for a very, very long time. And that's not discouraging for wholesalers because, number one, it's going to weed out a lot of the competition. It's going to basically trim out all the people that aren't professionals, and it's going to keep people that want to do business the right way. So I believe there's going to be a better quality of deals being done. Okay. And then on top of that, I feel like what's going to happen is it's going to allow you to do more deals because, again, a lot of people are going to get taken out that aren't willing to do that, right? So that's going to help. But virtual wholesaling right out of the gate right now, this is the reason why it's amazing to do because if you find yourself in Illinois or Oklahoma, right, and maybe you're not licensed, so you know what? You can do deals in any other state without even having to worry about that.
That's right. Yeah, so what we're talking about, locally in South Carolina, anybody in here, in our area, we have our live events. Everyone comes to those, and this has been a big topic. And if virtual was in your tool belt, if you knew how to do that, and your municipality comes and says you can't do this, well, you're not stuck. You're not spinning wheels. You're not wasting money on marketing. Now you are pivoting into a new location, new territory, right? So that's what we're saying. Virtual being, what you're teaching, what you've done for 10 years and 600 plus deals allows for mobility and pivoting if needed, or if one market does start to really grow while, your home market, the one you're farming might be going down, right? You can change. So the skills that you're talking about are, almost necessary for everybody, right? Even if you're not doing it on the 100%, even if you're working your own neighborhood, having that skill is almost crucial when things like this could come up. So I love that. That's why we're talking about it. That's why I wanted to get in deep on this and see. So next step, we've got our location. There's no legal issues, right? We've got a good spot. And so now what do we do? What like you just said, like, now what?
Yeah. So the next step is you want to go ahead and start finding your buyer first. So there's a lot of wholesalers out there that they're like, no, if I had a good deal, it'll sell itself. But the thing is that how do you know it's a good deal when you're first getting started? Like, how do you even know that you got a deal for a great number? You really don't. And that's the reason why most wholesalers end up dropping deals. Matter of fact, your biggest expense as a wholesaler isn't marketing or people. It's drop deals. It's the deal you couldn't sell, right? So when you find your buyer first, you avoid all that. So wholesaling, what you have to remember is, it's a business that very much depends on someone else buying something from you. So that's why what we do is we go find our buyer first. So we go into a new market. We don't start marketing for sellers until we have a list of roughly about 50 to 100 buyers in that area. And it may sound like a lot, but it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to get that.
Yep.
Once we get that and we have that buyers list, right? At that point, then we start marketing for sellers and we get a good deal under contract. We know what a good deal is because our buyers told us what a good deal is. And then we could just simply match them up with a deal. We drop less deals. We get settled into that market very quickly and we make money.
I like it. But I'm going to back it up and slow it down for our people. You guys are taking notes. If you're listening to this and you're not taking notes, you're missing out, because we're going to go back up, because you said 100 buyers. All right.
Yep.
And just to give a definition of what that is, as 100 buyers, that is an investor or someone that would close this deal. Do they have to be cash buyers? I hear that a lot. Is it cash or does it matter?
So this was a big mistake that I made when I first got started, is I only focused on cash buyers on my list. But what we do now is, and what allows us to make sure we get as many eyeballs on our deals as possible and move them very fast, is we concentrate on getting 3 types of contacts on our buyers list, right? Mm-hmm. Number 1 is cash buyers. Okay, so those cash buyers, everybody knows those are, they have cash, they buy a property, they can close very fast. The second is wholesalers. I used to think that realtors are the wholesalers are the competition, but they're totally not. Mm-hmm. Well, other wholesalers are not your competition, especially if you're starting out, you don't have a big buyers list. You could link up with another wholesaler in the area that has a massive buyers list and then sell your deal through them. They can sell it for you, right? So we have wholesalers. And the third type of contact we have on our buyers list is realtors. So there's a lot of talk out there that realtors are can't work with wholesalers, or realtors hate wholesalers and stuff like that. Listen, I've had realtors bring buyers for deals that I've had that I could have never gotten, guys that are out of the country. And so realtors are a really important part on your buyers list.
I love it. I love that you've broken that out. And I know that there's more details of what type of realtor, what type of wholesaler that you work with. We can't really dive into all of those details, but we're giving you the steps here. Let me ask you this. So when you find your cash buyer, what would be the question? How do you know they're legit? How do you know that this is like a real buyer? What do you say? What do you ask?
Yeah, so one of the biggest places we find our buyers is in Facebook groups. So joining all the local Facebook groups in that area, and then going in there and looking at people that are commenting on deals saying, I'm a buyer. But to your point, how do you figure out if these people are a real buyer or not? So we do that by asking one simple question. So when they reach out to us about a deal we have, right, at that point, that question is, are you looking to buy this for yourself, or are you looking to bring a buyer? That's huge, because immediately you know what they are, right? And then if I see that they posted on somebody else's deal saying they're a buyer, I may reach out to them and say, hey, saw you commented on this deal over in Tampa in 33615. Are you still actively buying in that area, or was that like a one-off deal for you? He's like, no, man, I'm looking for deals in that area. Great, awesome, man. So are you looking to buy these yourself, or are you typically looking to bring a buyer for deals?
Love it. Y'all, that is gold right there. If you're not asking that question, I can just see it right now. You have no idea, right? I can feel that when we're talking to people and I ask, our agents or our team, like, all right, is that a buyer or a wholesaler? Well, I don't know. They said they were a buyer.
They all say they're a buyer until it comes to close.
This is going out to our team right now, actually, as soon as we get off the call. So that is huge. It is so simple, right? It's so easy, and it's not an aggressive question. It's just an easy. It gets the information that we're looking for without beating around the bush. I love that. All right, so you've got your buyers. You need 100 before you even start talking or marketing to sellers.
50 to 100, yeah.
What is that? What do you do to get sellers?
Yeah, so the next step for sellers, what we do is we pull a list of sellers who are known to be motivated to sell, right? So what does that look like? So one of the services we use is PropStream. And PropStream is cool because it's like $97 a month. It includes 10,000 records you can download in there of motivated homeowners. Yep. And there's a lot of preset filters in there that you can just go in and you can select, like, tired landlords. You can go in and select vacant houses, right? Whatever list you want to pull in there, they all work, right? And basically you go in there, you pull a list of those sellers, and I think you can even get phone numbers for those inside of PropStream. And then basically you just call the sellers and see if they'd consider a cash offer. That's all you do, right? So you've gotten from your buyers, where you should target. right? And the type of properties they're looking for. So then you go to PropStream, you pull a list of properties that match what they're looking for, okay? And then from there, you just call sellers and see who's open to a cash offer.
I love it. All right, guys. So here it is. Again, take your notes, please. Rewind this, record it, whatever you got to do. PropStreamVIP.com will get you 7 days free trial, I think, 7 days. But PropStream, I'll put the link in here, VIP.com. That is where you get that discount. So when you log in, I'm trying to remember, I'm pretty sure it's preloaded with, you can click just for vacant. You can city, click vacant.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your top list? If someone was going to a brand new city and they're like, I've got to get sellers today, what's the list for you?
So if a brand new list that would be for me would be, I would say, vacant properties is always great. But there's this one other list that I don't really tell a lot of people about, and you can't really find this like online really much, too much. But it's the credit default list. This is a really, really good list.
Yeah.
And you can get it through one of my contacts at Caldwell List Company, and his name's Peter.
Yep.
And if you just mention my name and you're looking for the credit default list, and he'll hook you up with special pricing on it.
Yep.
But that's the list that we always usually start off with.
Okay.
And we start off with like 4 to 6 zip codes in the area that we're going to go into, and we market to that. And then once we see we're getting some good leads from it, at that point, that's when we say, okay, now we're going to get the rest of the zip codes.
All right, y'all. So that was part 1 of Virtual Wholesaling today with Chris Logan. What an incredible podcast. That was so much fun. I've got so many notes from this, but we had to cut this into 2. It was just too long. So you got the first few steps. Come back to the next podcast, go on to the next, listen to it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and you will see the final steps to collecting that assignment check at the closing. All right, see you there.
Thanks for listening to the REI Deal Finders podcast. You can find out more and apply to be a part of the REI Deal Finder community at reidealfinders.club.